Welcome to Unapologetically Anxious Me, Confessions of a Haitian Girl, the podcast where I blend life, love, sex, and relationships with mental health, social issues, and history, all from my very unabashed perspective. Join me, Joe Ciceron, as we unravel the power of vulnerability, celebrate storytelling, our history, and connect with incredible individuals who have tales to share. Let's dive deep into our essence and the narratives that mold us, because in this space, we believe in the magic of authenticity and the beauty of being unapologetically you.
Today, in a transparent place, I am just annoyed with humanity. So that's where I'm at today. I was on Instagram this morning, and they're talking about everything happening in the world and how the revolution is going to make some of us murderers. Some people are going to have to be okay with killing. The revolution is going to require people that are okay with stealing. You will have to be, I saw a post that said, for generational wealth, some of us are going to have to get real good at being thieves. And I sat with that for a while because I was like, what the fuck? And then I was like, I see what they're meaning. Like, to get your power, to gain your freedom, you have to fight for those things. And that is going to involve a lot of bloodshed, X, Y, and Z. And people were just missing the fucking point. I was talking about how desensitized we are as a people. The fact that I watched Aaron set himself on fire 4 times before I felt a tear the first time. Mm-hmm. And it's not normal. We are supposed to, the first time gore and graphic violence was on television, people were calling in. They were like, what the fuck is going on? Now we have the ratings, PG to R, and then mature, and so on and so forth. We have disclaimers. Viewers' discretion is advised, not suitable for young viewers, not suitable for children under the age of da-da-da-da. We have all these things because this shit was not normal. They knew it would affect the psyche, so they gave you a warning. Hey, viewers' discretion is advised. Don't watch this shit if you're not ready. Yep. And now we watch people die on television as a form of entertainment, to the point where we've become okay with death in this manner. And not like a lot of us were like, oh, I don't condone violence, I don't condone murder. But we've become complicit because with the genocides happening, we should be roaring, we should be revolting. It should have sparked something in us to make us do more than what we've done. But we're mostly sedated, not just because I was like, even smoking is a form of sedation, but that has always been meant to be either a form of tapping into your mind or a form of sedation. That was its goal. So it's really just the content that we are absorbing and not being mindful of what we're ingesting. Because I was playing Tomb Raider, and all of a sudden, my anxiety is getting worse. I bought the game to get rid of the anxiety. And I was like, that's because you spending hours being triggered by things randomly popping out and you having to shoot at them. So you were in a constant state of being startled and on edge. That would have to follow you in the regular world. So then I started thinking about all the white boys that shoot up schools, and they're like, it's the video games. And we're like, no, it's not. Yes, it is. Yeah. It is also the video games. It is the shit that we are watching and being fed. It is making our minds numb to things. And I was screaming at them because people kept saying stupid shit like, oh, you don't have to carry this with you and da-da-da. Yeah. And I lost my shit. And I'm trying to get my shit back, and I don't think it's coming back. I think it's gone, and I don't know. So I'm just processing how to live in a world where the world is like actively working against us.
That's a great place to start right there. Welcome back to another episode of Unapologetically Anxious Me, Confessions of a Haitian Girl. I'm your host, Joe, and today we have a very special guest with us. Welcome, Jasmine Garden.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you probably have seen her on TikTok or on Instagram, for sure TikTok, but you are a major content creator and you also call yourself a spiritual consultant. Mm-hmm. Okay. So talk to me more about that. What is exactly as a spiritual consultant?
Somebody that helps you tap in and restructure or recenter when things are feeling off balance. As a spiritual consultant, I spend a lot of time helping people understand their way of thinking, because your spirit speaks to you, I think, in many different ways. And it obviously taps through the mind, because I consider the mind to be the spirit of the brain, as we have a spirit that animates the body. And so in that, I think there is a lot of conditioning, like how we were just kind of talking about previously. There's a lot happening in the world, and I think sometimes that makes the mind very busy, the mind very heavy, and we struggle to sort on the regular. So I teach people how to sort through their brain to figure out what these thoughts are doing and why, or better yet, where they've come from.
At the beginning of all my shows, I usually try to make sure that I stick to one of the things that is most important to me, and that's mental health check-ins, and trying to make sure that, like, before we start a conversation, that we're just, in tune with where we're at and how we feel. And I think that you started that pretty much from the very beginning, and I love that energy. But in that same token, I can hear, the frustration and struggle with what you're experiencing and what is going on. So talk to me about how do you handle your mental health through these processes when you are so vocal, and a lot of times being a content creator in your lane and what you're doing, you'll probably feel like you care more than most people. And so how does that affect you on a mental health basis?
That's a crazy question in such a good way. Or better yet, that was more of a statement. The part about I feel more than most people do. I have to take time to be crazy. And I mean that in a carefully said way. I have to take time to lose my shit, because I have what I call 5 minutes of fuckery, and it's a concept I've taught my clientele. When things are overwhelming, when things are a lot, go the fuck off for 5 minutes. Oh, I just noticed your cat. Go the fuck off.
Oh, I have so many. This is one of 4.
Oh, sorry, my ADHD is gonna have me everywhere.
It's okay. Me too. I usually try to point it out because you're gonna see them like jump. They have no
worries. Okay, cool. I spend a lot of time finding points of comfort. I left it in the bedroom. I have a fuzzy blanket that's normally on the back of this chair somewhere in this room. Candles, my favorite types of scents, oil diffusers. I have a shelf full of perfumes that I use for ritual working, but also it's the perfume that I wear. So I will jump in the shower to first cleanse, because I always try and think of ways to just get my body to feel clean and safe, and then re-moisturize so the scents attach to me different. And then I change the mood lighting in here. I find music that feels centering. Sometimes it's my tranquil flute playlist. Other times it is the music that I like raging to. It just depends. I spend a lot of time either playing games, normally games that require some sort of thought, puzzling or whatever, and smoking, obviously. But I have a lot of conversations with my best friend and the people around me. I've started utilizing social media as a way of taking care of my mental health. I know a lot of times we're get off social media to maintain your mental health. Yeah. But also people are looking for community, and sometimes you're not going to get it when you go out and search for it in your immediate location. Exactly. So sometimes getting on the internet, I actually had one of my mutuals, she posted something earlier today about feeling like she posts her life on her story, and people are always like, why are you giving so much information? Why are you telling us so much about your life and oversharing? And she's like, because I don't have a lot of people in my life, and you guys are watching me lose people. They're coming and they're going, they're coming and they're going. So I'm sharing this with you because I know there's somebody else that is experiencing this as well. and it makes me feel like I'm not alone. Mm-hmm. And in that, I was like, I get on Instagram and I always try not to overshare, but there are just so many things to be talked about. So I found myself talking and telling them stories and shit, because I'm not scared to talk about life. It's something I would do if I was just one-on-one with them. And I really value being authentic. Yeah. So I don't like feeling like I have to filter and not tell y'all something and talk around the bush. And so I maintain, or I guess try to maintain, my mental health by being as honest about it as possible in the moment. Like, I got on live 2 weeks ago and I was like, I'm fucking depressed. So I'm going to sit here with y'all and I'm just going to play music and work on this ritual and talk a little bit, or maybe I won't say anything at all. I don't know. I'm going to smoke and y'all can just do what y'all need to do around the house while I'm doing what I need to do. And I felt so much better afterwards. It might have also been the strain of weed, but I felt so much better afterwards. And I felt good about talking about depression, because I hate people thinking that, especially being a celebrity spiritual consultant, I'm always on the up. Like, oh, you're working with celebrities, you're doing... People are we are fucked up out here. Yep. This is not like, I remember this battered women's shelter, Spark, here in the city, and it was ran by one of my neighbor's moms, so really my neighbor, and she had said, my goal is for y'all to put me out of business. I want to have to find another job. That's the goal, for things to change to where we no longer need battered women's shelters. Yeah. And I thought about what she said, and how, like, this is not fun work, even though I love what I do. I love being able to help. This is because we are fucked up and haven't had the type of centering, the type of teachings that we need in order to flourish the way we're supposed to, because we are plants. So we're supposed to be on a constant, or in a constant state of growth, but not in these type of climates. We're constantly having to learn and evolve and change the structure of our plant to survive, going from the tundra into the next place. It's just a lot. But yeah, that's how I've been working on my mental health.
Okay. What was your background leading up to this spiritual journey that you've been on? And what started that?
Okay. My father is a pastor. So I grew up in the church, Missionary Baptist, in the South. So the first 21 to 22 years of my life, I was in the church. But I started exploring life more. I was going out, I was partying, but I was meeting or dating different men, and secretly dating different men. Anyways, I met this guy, Teddy, and he asked me to go to a swingers resort. And it's very weird lead-in, but he asked me to go to a swingers resort, which doubles as a nudist resort in the daytime. So I was like, oh, I'm not sure, but after a few times of asking me, I was like, okay, because I'm interested and I want to know. So we went, I had a fucking blast, and I was like, uh-oh, how does God feel about this? Because
how old are you at this time?
Say it again.
How old are you at this time?
21 to 22.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like, uh-oh, how does God feel about this? Because here I am at this swingers resort, and I love it. Like, I love not just being with different people, but I love the atmosphere. Everybody is sexy and done. It's hedonism. It is, even though the club is caliente, this hedonism is its own club. It is a fantastic experience. And I don't know why this is supposed to be a sin. Like, why would you even give us sex and the intellect and creativity to be able to think about sex in this manner if you didn't want sex to exist like this? So I was struggling with pleasure and God. And I was also struggling from the age of like 11. I've been struggling with different concepts. Like, how do we know we have the right religion? How do we know that somebody else doesn't have the right God? Because we keep saying there's only one, and that means all my Muslim friends and all my Jewish friends, all my friends that are of different faiths and backgrounds, they're going to die. And for what? Why did God even create them? So I was warring with all of that, and I had been at the age of 16. I was left home for a summer, and I had like this mental break. I think I was just very depressed, and I was feeling very low in self-esteem. And I was like, I want to be confident, and I want to be smart. I want to not just be smart, I want to be brilliant. I want to be the most profound person in the room. And I want to always be the most profound person. I want to be the female version of King Solomon. And that's what I asked for. And I was like having a real bad break, and I was crying, and I was snot-nosed and screaming into the oblivion. And then I blacked out. And after I blacked out, I noticed my tablet was on the floor. So was I. But I hadn't hurt myself. I was just on the floor, and I didn't remember sitting down. And I was like, okay. So I like looked around, took in my surroundings. I know I'm in my living room. And I was like, what the fuck? Okay, bitch, you need to go sit down somewhere, because obviously you're losing your shit. Mm-hmm. And I sat down. And then after that, like, my thoughts didn't like immediately change or anything, but there was just this disconnect, and I didn't really know what the disconnect was. I hadn't identified it yet. Went away to Bethune-Cookman University, and we had chapel. It was mandatory every Wednesday. Growing up in the church, not having an option to go to church, I took it upon myself to skip church on purpose. I was not going to chapel. I was not going to Sunday service. Fuck that shit. I want to stay out all night and party. And that's what I did. And I loved it. Then I came back home, and I ran away for a summer and went to my grandmother's. And then I came back home again. And that's when I met Teddy and started going to the sex resort. And then I started dating Tuesday's father, John, and he's my primary partner. But
Tuesday's your daughter?
Tuesday is, I am a guardian, a non-legal guardian at that. But her mother is alive. He's not actively in the picture, but I raised Tuesday. So okay. I met John. We started dating. I was still going to the sex resort because him and I have always been in an open relationship. But I wasn't coming home anymore, and I was skipping church and lying to my parents saying, oh, I'm babysitting, I'm working, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. The whole time, I'm too shit-faced from the night before to attend church right now. You would not want me in this manner, neither would God. So around, let me see, when was it? It was March 31st. Was that 2019? Yeah, it had to be March 31st of 2019. Nipsey Hussle was assassinated. And something about his death fucked me up. I knew Lauren London, and I knew Nip because of Lauren London, but I was not like a Nipsey Hussle fan. But something about him and his death, like, I was very sad, and I couldn't figure out why. Like, yeah, it's sad, but people get killed every day. So I was like, why is this really distressing you? And I went looking him up, because I was just so curious about him all of a sudden. And his tattoos is what really got me. One said, God will rise. The other said, prolific. And something about the God will rise didn't register in my supposed Christian spirit. So I was like, what does that mean to him? And I didn't know why I thought it meant anything. So I went looking into him, and then I was on YouTube and watching a video about him, and it was talking about how he's spiritual, but it didn't really get into anything, and I didn't understand what spiritual meant. And then I saw a suggested video underneath that said how Christianity Strips You of Your Spirituality by Brother Custon. And I said, well, I think we are spiritual because we are Christians. So I was like, what the fuck? I clicked into that video. An hour later, I was crying, undone. I was like, everything we've learned is a fucking lie. Because one of the main points that he was talking on was, why would your enslaver ever free you? And why would they give you the tools for your freedom at that? And I was just so vexed, because it was like, yeah, this is exactly what I felt, but didn't know that I felt, because I was too scared to say that I felt this. But it's not even also what I felt, because I didn't know a lot of this either. But it just feels like if I go and do some research and I find any sort of truth in this, I will be mad. And then I went and I did research, and I found too much truth, and then I couldn't like work my way out of it. So it was a good year of me like getting into a actual spiritual journey. Like, I started one, but I was starting slow and just trying to figure out, okay, universe. I was calling them chakras at the time, chakras. I was just learning whatever and trying to absorb as much information as possible. I joined a bunch of culty ass Facebook groups. It was a lot. I had to deconstruct the first 2.5 years of my spiritual journey, really the first year and a half, but I say the first 2.5 because I took on a lot of ideologies that were really just reconstructed religious motifs, and I didn't want that. And then I was teaching on Facebook. I went from being like not known at all to still really not being known at all, but I had like 2,000 women in a Facebook group at one point, and a group of like 250 women that we mentored. And it was this crazy experience. I was on the phone for 4 hours, sometimes for $30 at first. And then it went to $150 for an entire year, which was crazy because I didn't know how to price myself. And I was just doing whatever they came to me for. I was trying if I could do it because I'm not into astrology enough to be able to do astrology. But I was just doing a whole bunch of shit. And then I fell out, she scammed. And then we fell out. One of my old business partners was moving real weird with the women in our group and us because I held a retreat in my house. And it was this big thing. So after that was over, I was on Facebook trying to kind of rebuild a following, and then I was talking about Lovecraft Country and all. I was deconstructing a lot of the films and television that came out, and something about Lovecraft Country sparked a download for time travel, and I was like, oh, time travel does not require a machine. It's a formula between space-time, and all you need is coordinates, and if you can use those coordinates and get there mentally, almost like remote viewing but jumping in, you don't need to time travel. And I don't remember the rest of what I said because it was a download. I typed it out in a Facebook post. I hit post, send. I had went viral a little bit on Facebook, 2,000 likes. That was viral to me. The post had 52,000 likes before the first hour was done. I said, what the fuck have I done? Holy shit. I'm on the phone talking with my best friend on video chat, and we get kicked off Facebook or off Messenger. And then we tried to jump back in. We couldn't. You've been banned, permanently banned. And I was like, what the fuck? I got said crazy shit before, but all we said today was time travel. And this is what gets me banned? And I was like, I even said, just walk with me for a second. Like, that's all it was it just walk with me for a second. A pondering post. I didn't even say this shit was real. I said maybe. And I got banned off Facebook. So it was a crazy thing. We had a retreat that was coming up in New Orleans, and I had to scramble. Long story short, I ended up on TikTok after losing my Facebook. And I was like, we're going to rebuild a following for the third fucking time. And we're just going to see how this goes. I didn't understand TikTok. The first 4 videos I posted were slideshow photos because that's what other people were posting, and I didn't know. And then I saw big content, because at first it was just showing me like little content creators, and then it showed me the big ones, and I said, oh, this is what they do here. So I was like, let me see. So I was looking around, and I was like, let's look for some spiritual content. And it took me to Spiritual Talk, and the girls were on there. The white girls were like, if you add this glitter to this water, you shake it up, you'll get a man. And I said, oh no, I'm in. Tap me in, coach. So I posted a video. My first viral video is spirituality is not a trend, and it's me just going to fuck off for like a minute. And yeah, the rest is kind of history. I posted maybe 3 or 4 videos before the 5th one was, I think, 5 things, or was it 3 things? I think it's 5 things I learned on my spiritual journey. 5 things I wish somebody would have told me before I started my spiritual journey. DJ Twitch, Stephen Boss, I miss you. Stephen shared my post, and he and his wife Allison followed me, but he in the captions, Twitch put, stumbled upon this powerhouse this morning. Y'all go give her a follow. And it was just like, oh my God, I love you. And so people followed me. I ended up like 100,000 followers. My goal was like 10,000. And I ended up with 53,000. Then I was like, I guess the goal is to get to 100,000. And then I got to 100,000 the next day. So I said, well, wait, okay, I'm gaining 50,000 followers a day. Maybe the goal is to get to 1 million by the end of the month. That didn't happen because I didn't know how the algorithm worked. So I was like, the goal is to get to 1 million within the next 2 years. And then I hit 1 million before 7 months was up. So I was like, I got to figure out what the goal is. I don't know what I want anymore out of this.
Wow.
But more celebrities were finding my stuff because people were just sharing it. What's that Erykah Badu song? Don't You Know? Or, yeah, Don't You Know? And I did my Fairy God Says pep talk to the beginning of that song, where I was like, I am more than a mood, I'm a lifestyle. And it went crazy across the internet. And then the celebrities, that's how they found me. The first celebrity I did a reading for was Wiz Khalifa's mom, OGPG. And I was so grateful. And then it's just been up since then. More content, more evolving on my portion. Yeah.
Wow. That's such an amazing, beautiful story, and how there's so many layers to that. First of all, I think that it's absolutely incredible that you even had that connection with Twitch. May you rest in power. Going back to the beginning, you mentioned that you are like a PK, preacher's kid. And I think maybe that's why, like, I was so drawn to you when I first started coming across your videos, is because I also am. And I grew up in a very religious Baptist type of setting. I went to a Baptist church. We were always so in tune into the religion, and I think that I remember witnessing my parents go from being, more secular, to really coming into their own as in their religious life, and being very big pillars of the church. My dad started off as a deacon, and then he became a pastor and went through ministry school and all that.
Yep.
And my mom was a major official in the church as well. So if you know anything about being Haitian, your whole life revolves around school, church, and home.
For sure. I have a lot of Haitian friends, so
yeah, so that was my life pretty much 6 days a week, if you even get a day off for that. And so I remember going through a lot of, I was always that kid who had a lot of questions, but then, you get that, you get them reeling you back, okay, nope, if you are asking this many questions, then you must not have enough faith in God.
Yeah.
I think I really for the most part, I think I held on to my religion as a way to get closer to my parents. I really sought their approval, and I knew this made them so happy. So I got deeply involved in youth ministries, became a youth ministry teacher, did that all the way up until I was about 18, 19, actually probably more 18. And then life suddenly turned when I realized that the people that were in my life, who were the pastors and all the officials, they were human. They're living out here, living this life just like the rest of us, and my whole reality of what the church was fell apart, because I realized that there's no perfection in that. I think that for the longest time I just kind of grew up with this is the right way, this is the only way, and if you're not serving God, if you're not a Christian, if you're not living by these ideals, then you're obsolete, you're trash, you're you might as well count your days. And so I think when I actually came into that realization with church scandals and all these things that were happening, I really put my my religion on the back burner, and started to ask myself more questions. I started educating myself. I started looking into those things that I was too scared to look into when I was younger. And I realized that the more I started looking at life through a decolonized perspective, the less sense a lot of things that I grew up with made. And it's interesting that you said that, you started this off with that idea of going to a swingers club, and and just having to like go through that mental battle. And I think I went through that in several different ways throughout my like teens, early 20s, and even into my 30s, because I went from realizing that, no, I'm not just, I'm not just a woman who likes men. I also like women. I'm bisexual. Then I had to come through that, which whole lot of trauma there. So that was a secret, or that was like really suppressing in myself. As when I met my husband, and we are high school sweethearts, so we've been together pretty much my entire like adult life. But I started also realizing that I'm not monogamous in the same sense that, I'm raised to be. I was raised to be. That filled me with so much guilt and so much animosity towards myself, because I felt like I was turning my back on something, or that I was becoming inherently evil somehow, because I was so conditioned to think a certain way. And so I think that I continue to go through this. It's still a growing process for me, but like when I left the church and I stopped identifying as a Christian, I think that's when I started realizing that like there's so much more about me that I had been blocking out, and I finally started to feel like I was living and I was free. Yeah. I think that coming from my background and having so much people, I mean, even people who probably listen to me now who've known me when I was younger and was very much a Bible toting lover, I think they find it shocking, a lot of the things I talk about. But I realize that you get a lot of these same visceral reactions from the Black community. What is it that you feel that we are so threatened by spirituality? And what would you say is the difference between being religious and spiritual?
I feel like religion is a section you've been convinced to purchase tickets into. Thinking you would have a good view, but there's a huge camera pole in your way. That's what religion feels like. Like somebody told you on a dream, to keep you from seeing the big picture. Because if you saw the big picture, you wouldn't participate in capitalism. You wouldn't participate in colonialism. You wouldn't participate in most of the structures that create society. I think our biggest threat as Black people, the biggest threat we feel or fear is being wrong. Because once you've been lied to and you're seeking out the truth, you now have a distrust not only in people but yourself for believing something. And you're like, I just want to make sure I didn't get this wrong again, because my whole thing was for like a good year. What if the devil really did trick me? And then it was just like, but God should have been more efficient. If I was sitting here asking God to show me him, and I kept finding me, why the fuck you keep showing me instead of showing me you? Why aren't you louder than me? Because now it's that gaslighting thing, where I'm gaslighting myself into believing that I am inherently evil and that I'm this terrible person, but I don't have any intentions to harm anyone. I don't feel evil. I'm just told that this is an evil way to be, but why is it evil? If God is powerful, where the fuck are my powers? Why would I need to be powerless after being made by somebody so perfect? Some portions of me would have to be great. If we are fearfully and wonderfully made, well then why can't I tap into the wonderful without being fearful of it? This does not make sense to me. I think Black people may also be afraid of how powerful they actually are, because once you start seeing the spirit world move, now you realize, holy fuck, I can't turn it off just because I'm scared now. Like, now things are happening. Whoa, there are deeper layers to this planet, and you just have to keep going now. And I think sometimes they're scared of what that means, like maybe the vengeance they think their ancestors may seek on them and X, Y, and Z. I think people are fearful of what they might have done in the dark coming to light through the spirit world or something of that nature. So it's just easier to not acknowledge it.
Gotcha. I agree. I think that's just human nature, that we fear whatever we don't understand. I think it's also part of our conditioning as Black people. Like, this was, I think Christianity is something that was given to us in order to control us. And I think that a lot of people lack the education and the knowledge of like their history and where that really stems from, to really understand, like, while you're preaching and thinking you're free and you're doing your own thing, you're really under you're under control still. You're still under this colonizing mindset that was used to keep you and an entire community of people from getting out of hand. And we are still playing into that same conditioning. I think that a lot of people probably are very shocked by some of your videos, and I've seen like you go back and forth a lot of times with people who are like religious or pastors or people in that world. Like, what has that been like over time, and what makes you continue to speak out?
The fact that they don't have all the answers, and most of them are men, and I despise when men try and assert their illusionary intelligence over a woman. So I noticed that. My father has never been a fire and brimstone preacher. He's always been, moral of the story is, which I could always appreciate, because it's like, even though he gonna say Jesus, he gonna say God, he's like, nigga, make it make sense. That's essentially his thing. Like, let's make life make sense, because he is using the word. Some of the things he be trying to make sense simply don't make sense. But with that being said, my father knows how to answer questions, and the ones that he don't, he'll tell you, I don't have an answer for that. He would always say, Eb, I don't have an answer for that. Because my first name is Ebony. So I noticed with the pastors that like to argue with the religious people, because I even got into it with China and McLean. Now, arguing with celebrities like China called all the spiritualists kooks. Our beliefs make us kook. Oh no, not Black China, Angela, white Black China. Black China, as in China and McLean. She's Black.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. She and her sisters, there's 3 of them from Daddy's Little Girls.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, we got into it, and from getting into it with her, because she was the first person that I really spoke out or whatever in connection to, I was like, nah, I gotta say more, because nobody else is. And I think the deconstructionists are scared to say something because they're scared to have all this hate sent their way. But how you a Christian and you hating on me instead of loving me into Christ? If you can't love me into Christ, and or you can't practice what Christ told you to practice, which was to let me be, because y'all supposed to be praying in y'all closets anyways, not enforcing y'all beliefs on everybody. If y'all not going to follow what Christ told you to do, and if you're not going to love me the way Christ would, then fuck you, babe. Like, y'all are, why would you ever need enemies when you have people like Christians? Christians will do all. There's no love. Or no, there's no hate like Christian love. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. And they live up to it, because I like to point it out to them. Look at how y'all are on here saying, I'm this, I'm that, and the third. I thought you weren't supposed to cast stones. Well, look at y'all. They don't follow what they preach. They don't really believe what they preach either. They are not Christians. And I said this in a video. The majority of the Christians sitting in the pews of a church are atheists. They're really just followers of men. My mama here, my daddy here, my sisters here, my friends are here, my aunties are here. Everybody seems to be here. And if I'm not here, then they're going to turn their back on me. I lose community for not following the way of community.
So we're just conforming at the end of the day.
Oh, for sure, because we are scared of being on the outskirts. But being the black sheep, woo! I have gained so much peace. I'm not going. I said, I'm not fucking going. Don't ask me. Don't invite me. Don't do this. Don't do that. Because I'm not coming. I don't have to follow. It's so crazy to live in such a strict religious household like we have growing up. Because for us, it was the same way. You go to church, you go to school, you come home.
Back.
Now, I was allowed to walk with my Haitian friends because they were also church girls, and we were all going to do the same thing. My father would allow me to go over to Christelle's house because Christelle's uncle and aunt were the pastor and the first lady of the church. And so, how do you say that? Monopaste? How did she say that?
Madame Pastor.
Madame Pastor. Okay, yeah, that's what it was. It's
like Madame Pastor.
Madame Pastor. Madame Pastor. Oh, okay. I've always been trying to figure out what she was calling her, and I didn't want to ask, but yeah. Okay.
It's literally the pastor's wife.
Yes, Madame Pastor. Okay, so I spent a lot of time at their house because by the time we got out of school at 2:15 and then made it home by 2:50, dinner was made. So we could go over there and fucking rub. So I'm sitting there eating them out of house and fucking home, and they practicing for church and they singing and shit. And then I go home and then I get ready for church, and it just keeps going. I think when we grow up in these environments, this is where we find community. This is where we know our people are going to be. So it's like, if I go outside of this, I don't know how many of my people are outside of this until you step outside and you like, damn,
it's lit out here.
Sinners leak up. No, but that's
living in our awareness.
No, truly, like living within such a crazy amount of self-awareness is scary and like overwhelming at times, and obviously it helps or conflicts with mental health sometimes, but it has been like a superpower. And so now what I really feel for a lot of the Black people trapped within religion is just pity. I am sorry for you. For some of them, like my father has to be a pastor. Like, that's his assignment in this life. He was meant to be in the church because that's his calling, for sure. I can appreciate religion as the stepping stone. It's just when religion tries to actually step on you to keep you from going anywhere that it becomes problematic. My father chose to value our relationship more than religion. And he said it to me: I want to keep my relationship with you, so we will just leave religion off the table. Cool, because he's not saying, I'm going to give up my God, but also I don't want you to be like, I can't come around my father because I don't believe what my father believes. I still love you. So no, we just going to have to make this work by not talking about it. Just don't tell me shit.
That's a real parent.
It is.
So many of us don't have that. I definitely do live a double life when it comes to, my father. I recently lost my mom, but both my parents are very, very religious. And I think just because they're old school Haitian people, they're very tunnel vision. So it's hard for them to see outside of that. So I think in my big 36, I still live a very double life where we just don't talk about it, like we just don't talk about it. Like when I'm home, I am back to being the church girl with them and supporting them and however they do their things. But when I'm on my own time, I very much have to be myself, and like I just have to completely like detach from that. And maybe that's why I ended up in Paul Bunyan country up here, because I wanted so much to get away from my family in Florida. And the separation was a necessity. And I think about it now, and even being a mom with 2 kids, I'm always thinking about like, what am I missing by not being closer to my family? But I realize the peace of mind that I have in knowing that I can live my life according to me. And I know so many of us, we don't get that fluidity with our parents who actually see us for more than what they were expecting you to be. And I think that that's absolutely beautiful that you have a dad who is also willing to see you where you're at.
For sure. And I appreciate that. I think the more people experience life and the way life is unfolding, religion will be brought to question again. And people will be like knocking let Jesus do it. Hey, come on back if you're coming. But in that, I think it is a beautiful experience to for the people that have it, to have their parents not put too much pressure. Like, it's still weird. I went to church like 3 weeks ago or some shit like that because it was my father's 4th pastoral anniversary of being the head pastor. They told me it was the 20th or the 25th. So I was like, oh shit, I gotta make this one. But 25? Nigga, I'm only 27. So I was like, and I was like, 20 would make more sense. So maybe it's the 20th pastoral anniversary. So I just went. And I saw them programs. I said, fuck, I've been suckered. Now I'm stuck at church service. I'm stuck. So I was like, all right, well, we just gonna bop it out. And the pastor gave a beautiful message, and I was able to still receive. So I was like, I just hope one day, because I was thinking, for you, like being Haitian, how different though that must be when it comes to into religion. Haitians do get in, like once they come here, even not even coming here in Haiti, they're so deep into religion, but in this place that holds so much spiritual history.
Yes.
That must be insane. Like, I don't know, because I feel like you can feel energies. I wonder.
It's incredibly difficult. I think mostly because there's so much of it that you are told is taboo altogether. Like, it's witchcraft, it's voodoo. I mean, and voodoo is like the first religion. So when you really come down to it, a lot of, like, in the Haitian community, or especially in Haiti, a lot of people are kind of divided by, like, Protestant Christians and the people who are kind of still in the old faith, which is like voodooism. A lot of that spirituality, there's just miseducation, because colonization has whipped us into thinking that that's what they used to, set so many people against us. And if you know the history of Haiti itself, like that, like more of the things that we hear here, like about like the zombies and things like that, like that was all just a scare tactic to make of these like slaves who are now like free, and they're not of this world, they're not Christians. So obviously, as a Christian, you want to be a slave, like that's your duty, and that was not what that was following. So I think that you see that a lot. And I think for me, just coming into this and realizing that like I'm still learning, I'm still unlearning a lot of things. It's difficult because I find myself very like lonely and confined and isolated in that idea of just trying to figure things out and trying to connect with my people, my ancestors, without having this guilt of like I'm doing something wrong or this is somehow inherently like evil.
Yeah, no, that must be difficult.
Yeah.
Especially with them saying, it's like taboo, and the simple fact that some had to hide so the practices got lost. And because of colonization, I know for a fact magic changes when white people are around. We will sell white people a fucking dream, but in selling white people a dream, somebody takes that shit, they run with it, they believe this is the way that you actually get it done, and now it becomes the instruction, and now the magic is lost because, and I know it from hoodoo, and so it's a crazy fucking thing. Oh, wow.
It makes me sad, though. It makes me sad to think of how we demonize something that our ancestors used for survival. Like, that's how the Haitian Revolution was won.
No, and I talk about it all the time, for sure, because we're always talking about how to gain our freedom, because we're like, we free, but we not free. Well, if we not going to use what they used, we're going to stay stuck. Because I talked about it this morning on my live. I said the Haitian Revolution was won through spirituality, but also people had to not give a fuck about being labeled a murderer or labeled a rebel or anything of that nature. Because bitches had to die. That there's only one way to get things done. What else are we gonna do?
The revolution.
It's a revolution, and it's not supposed to be some sort of we walk and we talk and what the fuck is this doing? Nothing. They're killing you anyways. So we have to do things different. And it's not to say there's not ways that you can protest without bloodshed. Like everybody not shopping at Starbucks for a while hurt them so bad. Starbucks started giving out free drinks. They have never. Starbucks is truly the Birkin bag of coffee. They've never given out a freebie. So for them to give out a freebie and they lost $3.7 million, that was a crazy thing. And it's like, yeah, we have ways where we can hit them in their pockets, but outside of that, you're going to have to slit their throat. That's it. There's only certain ways. And I wonder, because a lot of Black people loved Lovecraft Country, but they also loved American Gods. And in watching both of those shows, because we like to watch Anansi, Orlando Bianansi, a lot of people were like, yeah, his monologues, they're so powerful. That's why they fired him. But y'all scared to live up to the monologue. Like,
yeah.
Craziness. But I appreciate you for having me.
I just think it's incredible that you are able to live so authentically and speak your truth. I think that takes so much courage, especially today when you're on, like, when everyone has an opinion and everyone wants to destroy you for having that opinion. And so with your work and talking to or working with celebrities, I'm guessing you also work with regular people as well.
Oh, for sure. I don't even just take celebrities. I tend to take high profile clientele. So it might be your favorite actress, or it could be your favorite actress's hairstylist or their nail tech, or it could be your most hated politician's mistress. It really just depends. Everybody. So
that's nice. So are you doing like tarot readings? Like, what does it really
Some people book for tarot, but most people book me for either a 15-minute, I have a question, or they book me for a let's be honest, which is a 10-minute channeled reading. Normally, most people want to talk to an ancestor during those, or they just want to ask me like 3 specific questions about what's going to happen next. And I channel the answers or what they need to do for something current. And my 30-minute sessions, my reality checks. People used to book the hour call sessions the most until I got online, and I was like, y'all don't need me for an hour because y'all don't have an hour's worth of conversation to talk about. So normally people want some sort of coaching. I do a lot of spiritual coaching. I do shadow work and meditation. I teach spell work. It really just depends. I do a lot.
Mm-hmm. What has been like the most pivotal like moment in your career so far where you've witnessed your work and changing them?
I don't know if I have pivotal moments per se, because I don't want to say it like that, but I am always grateful, but somehow still used to people letting me know my work has changed their life. It's a big comment, one of the most popular comments in content. Like, you changed my life. Something people tend to tell me when they get on my phone. They're like, I need to fangirl for a second because you don't understand how you changed my life. So I guess maybe I could say I've had those pivotal moments weekly, if you will, where I'm like, okay, this shit is working. I can't say I've had like one big one because I don't know which one would be the big one. But I'm always grateful to know that things that I find a way to say make it into people's minds and their hearts in a way where they're receptive enough to be like, all right, I hear you, and I'm gonna put action behind what I'm hearing. So
how do you handle all the attention? Like, I know like you've had I
talk to my best friend, I smoke, and then I stop reading the comments. I post something else and I post something different, and I'll read the comments on that. I simply won't, or I'll block a bitch. That's my favorite thing. Imagine typing me a paragraph about how I should die and I don't even read it. I don't know what was said. It's deleted. And I have a filter on my comments. So if you start saying something crazy along the lines of something we've heard before, it's just going to comment and I'll never see it to approve it. So yeah, I stopped looking.
I recently saw your video, maybe it was a couple days ago, about like the barbs and
I ended up in I ended
Tell
up
me
in
about that. Where did that start?
years ago during Black History Month when she jumped in my comment section on a video that didn't mention her name whatsoever because it didn't mention anybody's names, and it was also about Kim and Kanye. And she inserted herself into the comment section, was on allegedly a coke binge, and went crazy in my comment section and posted about me for almost 5 days, really 3 heavy. But it was like a 5-day thing, and she promoted her song "Do We Have a Problem" using our beef. So it started 2 years ago.
Right. I'd be like, well, thank you for the marketing. I appreciate it.
She should have told me she needed some help with her marketing. But yeah, started some drama, and then this year it was just the Meg Thee Stallion shit, and it was just a little trend. Somebody, one of my mutuals, Nicole, made a video, and she was like, if I had to write a diss track about Nicki Minaj's Meg, and I was like, yeah, I've been waiting on this one. Let me jump.
I was Meg Thee Stallion and I had to write a diss track about Nicki Minaj. I would be like, Bigfoot, no, but you could call me Chewbacca. Eating you up so bad they gonna have to spoon feed you like Papa. I'm living in your mind rent free. You can catch me roaming. You rapped a bad bar about my bad luck. Now I'ma get you back like a bad omen. Get up on my good foot when you get up off your hubby. These girls are your sons cause you can't have daughters and your man's too touchy. Was that too touchy? I'm sorry. I'm over 18, so I know you won't try to touch me, but
I love
It was supposed to be a little funny thing, and the barbs went crazy. So I was like, oh, now I gotta write a full rap because you bitches are dumb.
Do it.
I ended up in Time magazine. So
Wow. Well, congratulations for that. I think that clearly you're doing something right because you are ruffling feathers. And I think that a lot of times we have these reactions when we know that, there's truth to things that are being said. And I think that's difficult for us to take in, that you are able to just stand on it and be like, it is what it is. I say it like I mean it.
for sure. Yeah.
So I know you're also your mom. What are the most important things to you about like what you do now and what you want your daughter to see and maybe be inspired by as she gets older?
So I'm her guardian. I don't like to call myself her mom.
I apologize.
No, I just like to keep it open for the sake of her mom actually being here. But I teach Tuesday to work with the spirits. I want her to grow up and be outspoken, and I'm struggling with it now because teaching her to be outspoken means she gets to tell me whatever the fuck she wants to tell me, and I learn how to process and deal with that in a way that makes sense. But I think that's the biggest thing, is just I want her to understand that she has to not make a way for herself in this world, but she has to be not scared to use her power within this world. But she also needs to know how to wield said power. Yeah. So teaching her how to understand her mind and how to listen to her emotions so she understands the message between the mind and the emotions before she goes and operates through action. So
I know that you talk a lot about like sexual liberation. You're very open about like how you feel about yourself, your body, and what you do. And I think that that's incredible. I aspire to be that way myself, because I'm still like in that like trying to reprogram myself outside of that Christian bubble. I love that you're just so open about it and that you don't see it as this like the respectability politics around it. I've seen other people come after you about it. So talk to me about like what it's like to be in that position and why is it important to you to be sexually liberated?
Because everybody's fucking, even the people who aren't fucking, and then the few people that aren't fucking, they're not. Some of them are talking shit about those of us that are fucking, but most of them let people have their way. Mm-hmm. It really seems like the women that were told they couldn't get a man and wouldn't be respected by a man if they act the way that I act that are pissed off with how I act because they don't know how to break free of that, and they're scared of the results because they're like, but is there some rejection? Because also, oh, you're not married, but you're married to a man that doesn't touch you because he's fucking somebody like me. And that's where y'all get hung up at. So I feel like sexual liberation is to teach women your pleasure matters. And you have to figure out how to find your pleasure in different ways. Be safe. It doesn't mean be out here giving the coochie to anybody that wants the coochie. It just means do not deny yourself pleasure simply because a man told you that you would not be wanted. Do you know how many women he slept with before he comes and sticks it in you? Dirty as fuck. So I feel like also we start to dwindle in creativity. I think we dwindle in a lot of different aspects when we are not actively having sex, or how can I say this, when we are not prioritizing pleasure. I'd rather say it like that because it doesn't have to be sex, but there are a lot of things that come from, I guess, what they would call the promiscuous nature. It is learning how to work with your confidence, because I have fantabulous boundaries, man, because I tell men no all the fucking time. Have I been rejected? Yeah. But I also do a lot of rejecting, and in that times it's just a boundary. He was hot, but he was stupid, or he was hot, but he was dangerous. He has anger issues, or maybe he's just not the one. And in that, I have learned to find different ways to tell men no. And when they don't listen to no, it just depends on what happens. Fight back, but whatever. I mean that in the way of sometimes women they don't know that this is not okay because they're sexually liberated. So they think that their husbands essentially coercing them or sexually assaulting them on the regular is a normal thing. This is not normal. And if you were sexually liberated, you might know this, or if you at least listen to people that were sexually liberated, because maybe you don't want to go out and have the experiences per se, but listen to ours without judgment. Because in my book, The Cosmic Coochie Chronicles, I'm not just telling you all the fun about the guys that I fucked. I'm telling you why I fucked them. The deficit that I was in internally, the emotional turmoil I was processing, or sometimes the way I was trying to find myself. For sure.
I'm going to just say some random phrases.
Okay.
And I just want you to tell me what you think, like the first thing that comes to mind when you think of these things.
Oh, Lord, let's do it.
All right. So the first one is Zeus and the baddies.
I want Natalie Nunn to find a surgeon to construct her chin the way that it is supposed to be, because I'm tired of seeing it, then seeing her. I am tired of this type of entertainment because you can't tell me staged fights like this. I could craft better reality TV. We actually have real shit, and people that are angry if we want to see bitches fight. This is dumb. This is not good. It's just bad, and it's really a bunch of sorry ass women. Like, I don't know personally their type. I don't know if they like women. I don't know, whatever. But if I was somebody that would have pursued them romantically before, I definitely wouldn't after watching Zeus, because what is this?
You're
dirty.
You're literally undateable.
They're very undateable. I just don't get it. Yeah.
Okay. The next one is, let's see, P. Diddy.
Going to jail, but probably gonna commit suicide before he makes it to jail, because that's something that I just see happening. Either that or somebody else will kill him, but I have a feeling he'll commit suicide before he goes to jail. P. Diddy is a disgusting human being, and I hope it hurts.
Here you go. Meg the Stallion.
I love Meg the Stallion. Ready for the Hot Girl Summer Tour. Wondering what the ticket price is going to be, because I need to know now.
Trump supporters.
Fuck them. What's wrong with y'all? I know what's wrong with y'all. Y'all poor white folk. That's all. That is really just that simple. Y'all poor white people. Illiterate, uneducated, and just stupid as all get out. And then also, if black people have a genetic predisposition to trauma, white people would have to have one as well. And this is from my mutual, that brown girl, Christina Brown. She is a wonderful content creator, but she said it wouldn't white people have to have a genetic predisposition to something like savagery or like rage or something? So in that, they're just being white. This is what we mean when we say white people being white people or white people doing white people shit. It's literally in your blood, genetically embedded. So yeah.
Black history being whitewashed in schools.
I got doxxed for talking about the Barbs. Just because you don't want that history book to show the pictures of y'all being terrible people to black people doesn't mean we can't find out that you were one of those people being terrible people to black people. So either get rid of the internet or try again, because we're still going to talk. The history will still come out.
My last question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you right now?
I'm about 6.5. I'm not unhappy, but I am unhappy. I'm just a little sedated right now, so I can't say too much.
I see that. Okay. And is there anything you want to ask me?
If there was one person that you could interview, like dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh, dead or alive. Okay, let me see. So this is probably cheesy, but I think if I could, because of the moment I'm in right now, I would interview my mother, who passed away last summer. We had a very tumultuous relationship, and she was diagnosed with adenocarcinoma at the beginning of 2021. And so I think, and before that, we had not spoken or really had been in a good place relationally for about 7 years. And so we were just getting to a place of like, you know, calm and speaking to each other. And so once she was diagnosed, I made a decision within myself to let all that go and to absorb whatever time I had left with her. So I think that if I had the ability to talk to her again, I would ask her all of the questions that I was scared to ask her when she was alive, as well as just maybe getting to know her in a way that I never got a chance to get to know her when she was here.
I understand that for sure. That actually a great answer. But no, it wasn't cheesy. Thank you so much
for doing this, for having this conversation with me, for coming on my podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
This has been another episode of Unapologetically Anxious Me, Confessions of a Haitian Girl. Until next time, bye.
Bye. Thank you.
I just appreciate you so much.
Yeah, you are welcome. Thank you for having me.